Sometimes fate walks through the door wearing snow in her hair and a secret in her heart. The heavy wooden door of Stone Ridge Bar creaked open, letting in a blast of freezing air. Snowflakes swirled through the dim light, spinning around a small figure framed in the doorway. For a heartbeat, the room fell utterly. Silent 20 pairs of hard eyes, tattooed men in leather suits. Cuts marked with the Hell Angels insignia turned toward the little blonde girl and the massive German shepherd standing protectively at her side. She couldn't have been more than 8 years old. Yet her blue eyes, too serious for a child, swept across the room with deliberate purpose. The dog's posture changed, ears pricked forward, muscles tensed like coiled wire. His gaze locked onto a table in the corner. "I need to find my father," the girl said firmly, her voice clear and steady despite the silence pressing in around her. "My mom is dying, and she said he's in this room." A low growl rumbled from the German shepherd's throat before he barked once. Sharp, commanding, pointing like a compass needle toward the corner table. Oak Ridge had once been a thriving lumber town, but those days had long since rotted away, leaving empty storefronts and the ghost of prosperity behind. In the grip of yet another merciless winter, the main street was a patchwork of boarded-up windows and snowdrifts. Only one building still pulsed with life, Stone Ridge Bar, a weathered 2-story refuge with motorcycles parked outside year-round. Most locals crossed the street rather than pass too close. The bar belonged to the Hell Angels, and even the bravest souls knew better than to interfere with their territory. Yet outsiders rarely understood the truth. Beneath the rough exterior and roaring engines, the bar served as an unofficial community center. When 3 families lost their homes in last year's wildfire, it was the Angels who raised money for temporary housing. When the elementary school's computer lab went dark, anonymous donations arrived mysteriously, always right after the club's monthly meetings. At the heart of it all was Martha Sullivan, a 70-year-old widow with silver hair and a spine of steel. After losing both her husband and son in Vietnam, she'd turned her husband's failing tavern into a safe haven for men who came home broken. "These boys might look rough," she'd often say with pride, "but they've got hearts bigger than their engines." Inside, the warmth of the massive stone fireplace softened the winter's bite. Worn wooden floors gleamed from decades of polish, and the walls were lined with vintage photos, military memorabilia, and memories carved deep into the grain of oak and whiskey. At the center of it all sat Jackson "Thunder" Hayes, club president and former judge. At 55, he was built like a bear. Broad shoulders, weathered hands, and a salt-and-pepper beard. Once his voice had sentenced criminals. Now it commanded loyalty. He looked up at the girl, his booming voice softened to a rumble. "What's your name, sweetheart?" She lifted her chin. "Emma Miller." The name hit like a ghost wind. Around the room, glances exchanged. Unspoken memories flickering in hard eyes. "Sarah Miller's girl?" Thunder asked, his gravelly tone shifting to disbelief. "Your mom. She used to work here." Emma nodded. "She's in St. Mary's Hospital. The doctors say she might not make it through the weekend." Her voice trembled but didn't break. "She told me to find my father before it's too late." From a shadowed corner, Michael Wolf Anderson lowered his coffee cup. The scar running from temple to jaw caught the firelight, his expression unreadable behind dark glasses. Dog tags clinked softly against his chest. Wolf rarely spoke, but when he did, the room listened. His connection with animals was legendary. Strays followed him, birds landed on his hands. He had a quiet gravity, the kind that didn't demand respect, but earned it. Now as he watched the girl, something flickered behind his stoic calm. Emma reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a faded photograph. She placed it carefully on the table before Thunder. "Mom kept this," she said. "She said one of these men is my father. She wouldn't tell me which one, but she told me to come here if something bad ever happened to her." Thunder studied the picture. Sarah, 9 years younger, radiant behind the bar during a Christmas party, surrounded by 5 men, every one of them still in this room. Martha emerged from behind the counter, drying her hands on a cloth. Her eyes softened as she looked at the photograph. "Your mother was special to all of us, Emma. Why do you need to find your father so quickly?" Emma hesitated. "Because of Smith." At that name, the shepherd, Ranger, growled deep in his chest. "He's Mom's boyfriend," Emma continued. "If I don't find my real dad before she—" Her lip quivered. "Before she dies, Smith becomes my legal guardian. He already has the papers started." Thunder leaned forward. "Smith who?" "Smith Reynolds. He works for Child Protection Services," Emma said. "But Ranger knows he's bad." At the mention of his name, Ranger's ears flattened. Martha crouched beside Emma despite the ache in her knees, her voice gentle but firm. "Trust the dog, honey. Animals see the soul. Humans only see the mask." From the corner, Wolf's voice broke the silence, gravelly, low, controlled. "How did your mother get those injuries?" Emma's eyes darted toward him. "They said she fell down the stairs, but I heard them fighting. He gets angry when she talks about leaving." Thunder's jaw tightened. Across the room, one of the younger bikers flipped open a laptop, fingers flying across the keys. "We'll find out who this guy really is." Martha led Emma to a seat near the fire, handing her a steaming mug of cocoa. "You did the right thing coming here, sweetheart." Emma managed a small smile. "Mom said I could trust you. She said the angels protect their own." Thunder looked toward the window, where snow fell harder, the wind beginning to howl like a warning. "Then she was right," he said quietly. Outside, the storm thickened. Inside, the air grew heavy with unspoken dread, and just as Thunder's words faded, Ranger's head snapped toward the door, a low growl rumbling from deep in his chest. The room fell silent again. Something, or someone, was coming. Some storms start outside. Others begin in the soul, and no roof can keep them out. Thunder's deep voice cut through the tension like a gavel striking wood. "We've been running this place for 3 decades, and unlike you, Mr. Reynolds, none of us have been investigated for impropriety with minors." Smith's smirk faltered. His composure slipped for just a moment before he snapped back, voice hard as steel. "That's slander." The tech-savvy biker sitting at the far table didn't look up from his laptop. "Actually, there's a sealed file from 2015 in Jefferson County," he said, fingers tapping rapidly. "Want me to keep digging?" Smith's eyes darkened. His right hand moved slightly toward his jacket pocket, the motion subtle, but not subtle enough, Wolf noticed. His body went still, a silent warning radiating through every muscle. Smith's tone turned venomous. "I could have this entire establishment shut down with one phone call. Health code violations, serving alcohol to minors, harboring a runaway child, take your pick." Martha, who had been quietly polishing a glass, didn't even flinch. "You could try," she said evenly, "but my late husband's brother sits on the county board, and my nephew runs the health department. Small towns have long memories, Mr. Reynolds. Outsiders who threaten locals rarely find much support." Smith's jaw tightened as his attention flicked back to Emma. "This is ridiculous. Emma, get your things. We're leaving." "She's not going anywhere with you," Wolf said, his voice calm but carrying the weight of command. Smith turned, sneering. "And who are you to stop me?" Wolf slowly removed his sunglasses. The firelight revealed a pair of piercing blue eyes, the same shade as Emma's. "I might be her father." The bar went dead silent. Emma's small gasp broke the stillness. She looked up at Wolf with a kind of awe, searching his face for the truth she desperately wanted to see. "That's impossible, Smith. Sarah would have told me, would she?" Thunder interrupted, leaning forward. "To a man she's known for what, 1 year, versus the man she once loved?" Smith's laugh came out hollow. "You expect me to believe that Sarah Miller, educated, refined, had a relationship with—" He gestured dismissively at Wolf. "This? People contain multitudes," Martha said softly, "and Sarah always saw beneath the surface." Wolf didn't rise to the bait. His tone stayed steady. "A DNA test will confirm it one way or another." "DNA tests take weeks," Smith countered. "Sarah doesn't have weeks, and my custody papers will be finalized in 3 days. Thunder's eyes narrowed. "Emergency custody can be granted to a biological parent upon preliminary DNA evidence, especially when questions arise about the character of competing guardians." Smith's mask slipped further, anger seeping through. "You're making a serious mistake. I have friends in places that could make your lives very difficult." "Is that a threat, Mr. Reynolds?" Martha asked coolly. "It's a reality check, old woman." "Smith, you have no idea who you're dealing with." Emma's small voice broke through the tension. "I want to stay here until we know for sure." She reached up and took Wolf's hand, her fingers tiny against his scarred knuckles. Ranger stood at her side, eyes locked on Smith, every muscle poised to strike. "That dog," Smith hissed suddenly. "Where did you get him?" "He found us," Emma said, "when I was 3. Smith stared from Wolf to Ranger, confusion flickering into something almost like recognition. "Impossible." Wolf's expression didn't change, but a ghost of a smile tugged at his mouth. "This isn't over," Smith snarled, backing toward the door. "Not by a long shot. I'll be back with the proper authorities." Thunder's voice was like rolling thunder itself. "We'll be waiting." Smith yanked open the door and froze. Standing on the threshold, snow swirling between them, was Sergeant Wilson, a weathered state trooper wrapped in a heavy coat. "Perfect timing, officer," Smith said quickly. "I need to report a kidnapping." Wilson's calm eyes took in the scene, then flicked to Thunder. "Jackson Hayes," he said, a trace of respect in his tone. "Haven't seen you since that highway pileup case." Smith blinked. "You know these people?" "I know Judge Hayes by reputation," Wilson replied evenly. 20 years on the bench. Impeccable record." Smith's confidence faltered as the trooper looked around the bar. "Now then," Wilson continued, "someone care to explain why I'm being asked to remove a child from a warm building during the worst blizzard in 15 years?" After hearing both sides, the sergeant came to his conclusion. "There's no immediate danger to the child and the roads are closing. Nobody's going anywhere tonight. Mr. Reynolds, come back in the morning. With proper documentation, Smith's protest died under the officer's firm gaze. Moments later, the door closed behind them both. Silence settled again, heavy and uneasy. "He'll be back," Thunder said quietly, watching the sedan crawl through snow. "With reinforcements," Martha added grimly. "That man has powerful friends." Wolf hadn't moved. Emma still held his hand, her faith quiet but unshakable. Thunder exhaled slowly. "We need to know what really happened to Sarah. And whether you're Emma's biological father. DNA takes time," the tech biker reminded him. "Then we'll start with the truth," Thunder said. "Emma, tell us everything." Emma's small voice trembled as she spoke. "Mom found something on Smith's computer. Something bad. She said she was going to report him. They fought. Then I heard her scream." Wolf's hands curled into fists. "When I ran out, she was at the bottom of the stairs," Emma whispered. "Smith told everyone she tripped." Thunder's jaw tightened. "And the hospital just accepted that? He knows all the doctors," Emma said. "He has friends everywhere." The tech biker looked up from his laptop. "He's worked in 5 counties. Everyone had missing foster kids during his tenure." Thunder's voice dropped low. "We'll need proof." Martha sat beside Emma, brushing a lock of hair from her forehead. "Tell us about your mom before him." Emma smiled faintly. "It was just me, Mom, and Ranger. She worked hard, 3 jobs sometimes. She said it was all for my future." Wolf finally spoke. "Did she ever talk about her past?" "She said life was complicated back then," Emma said, "but she never told me why." "Did she ever mention me?" Wolf asked softly. Emma hesitated. "Only that my dad was brave, but broken." A fragile silence hung between them. Thunder broke it. "We'll need to act fast. If Smith's influencing the hospital, he could hurt her again." A female biker spoke up. "I'm an ER nurse at St. Mary's. I'll take the night shift and keep watch." Thunder nodded his approval. "Good. Wolf, tell us the rest." Wolf's voice was quiet, raw. "Sarah and I were together a year. She worked here. I'd just come back from my 3rd tour. I wasn't whole. Nightmares, anger, I pushed her away." "You didn't know she was pregnant," Thunder said. "No," Wolf admitted. "I found out later. Went to the hospital the night Emma was born, just to make sure they were safe." Martha's eyes softened. "You held her once." Wolf nodded slowly. "Long enough to promise I'd protect her. Always." Emma's eyes widened. "That's what your note said." "I found it in my baby box." Wolf looked stunned. Thunder leaned in. "Did you send Ranger?" "Yes," Wolf said simply. "Trained him myself. He's been guarding them ever since." Martha's voice trembled. "You've been protecting them all along, from the shadows," Wolf replied. Emma asked softly, "Why not tell us?" "Because your mother deserved peace," he said. "And I wasn't worthy of her or you." As the storm raged outside, Martha prepared makeshift beds. Emma drifted to sleep by the fire. Ranger curled protectively beside her. Thunder stood beside Wolf. "You realize what's coming, right? Smith won't stop." "I made a promise 8 years ago," Wolf said quietly. "I'll keep it." Thunder placed a hand on his shoulder. "This time, maybe you'll keep it as her father, not her shadow." Wolf's gaze lingered on Emma's peaceful face, the firelight flickering across his scar. "I don't know how to be a father," he murmured. Martha's soft voice carried from her corner. "No one does, son. You just show up and love them anyway." Outside, the wind howled louder, snow covering the world in white silence. Inside, Stone Ridge Bar, a wounded soldier watched over his sleeping daughter, finally realizing that some battles weren't meant to be fought alone. Some truths don't break the silence. They burn through it, bright and unstoppable, like dawn cutting through a storm. Emma sat quietly, her small fingers tracing patterns on Wolf's scarred hand. "Maybe she had her reasons," she whispered. "Or maybe," Thunder replied softly, "she was just as scared as you are right now, scared of what happens when 2 broken people try to build something whole." Dawn crept through the frosted windows of Stone Ridge Bar, but the storm outside showed no mercy. Snow beat against the glass, relentless. The sound of boots crunching over the icy threshold broke the stillness. The bikers who'd gone to St. Mary's Hospital burst through the door, faces pale but triumphant. "We got it," one announced, holding up a flash drive. "Security footage shows Smith cornering Sarah by the vending machines, threatening her." His partner added breathlessly, "And there's more. Sarah's awake. She's asking for Emma and for Wolf." The words hit Wolf like a jolt of electricity. For 9 years he had imagined this moment and feared it in equal measure. The corridors of St. Mary's gleamed with sterile brightness. As Wolf, Thunder, and Emma made their way toward Sarah's room, Ranger padded silently beside Emma, having been smuggled in by the nurse, one of the Hell Angels working undercover on the night shift. The storm had calmed just long enough for them to make it in. Outside Sarah's room, Wolf hesitated. His hand hovered near the doorknob, breath unsteady. "Maybe I shouldn't," he murmured. "She asked for you," Thunder reminded him. Emma slipped her small hand into his. "Mom wants to see you." With a deep breath, Wolf opened the door. Sarah lay propped against white pillows, her beauty dimmed by bruises, but her spirit unmistakable. Machines beeped steadily beside her bed. Her eyes, Emma's eyes, widened when she saw him. "Michael," she breathed, her voice rough with pain and recognition. Emma rushed forward. "Mom, you're awake!" Sarah's trembling arm wrapped her daughter close. "My brave girl," she whispered. "You found him." Wolf stood motionless until Thunder's gentle nudge pushed him forward. He stopped beside her bed, posture rigid. "Sarah," he said quietly, emotions fighting to stay contained. "You look exactly the same," Sarah whispered with a faint smile, "except for a little more gray. You look—" Wolf hesitated, struggling. "Like I fell down the stairs," Sarah finished, a flicker of humor breaking through. Thunder cleared his throat. "Sarah, we need to know what really happened. Emma thinks Smith pushed you." Sarah's face hardened. "He did. I found files on his computer. Records of children in the system. Prices beside their names." Her voice broke. "He's been selling kids, Jackson, vulnerable ones, the kind no one would miss." The revelation, though half expected, hit like a physical blow. Wolf's hands gripped the bed rail, veins bulging with restrained fury. Thunder nodded grimly. "We've seen the footage. He threatened you by the vending machines. I was copying files to a flash drive," Sarah explained. "He caught me." She looked at Emma. "Sweetheart, could you get me some water?" Emma understood the code instantly and slipped out with Ranger. Once alone, Sarah spoke rapidly. "Smith's not alone. There's a network. Judges, cops, CPS workers. They target kids and make them disappear through fake adoptions." Thunder's jaw clenched. "How deep does it go?" "At least county level. Maybe higher." Her eyes filled with tears. "He was grooming Emma, Jackson. I didn't see it until I found her file. She's valuable. Pretty, blonde, no legal father." Wolf's grip tightened. "When I confronted him," Sarah continued, "he laughed. Said no one would believe me, then he pushed me." Thunder's voice darkened. "Where's the evidence?" "Flash drives taped under Emma's dresser drawer. Phone recordings are backing up to my email." "But Michael," her eyes turned to Wolf, "he's fast-tracking custody. If something happens to me, he'll have legal rights to Emma in 72 hours, unless her biological father contests it." Wolf froze. The truth he'd buried for nearly a decade rose like a wave he couldn't outrun. "Why didn't you tell me?" Sarah's voice trembled. "Because I was terrified. You were drowning in your own nightmares. You kept saying you were poison, that you destroyed everything you touched. I thought I was protecting you." "You left," Wolf said quietly. "I did," Sarah admitted. "I told myself it was noble, that I was saving you, but I only robbed you both." Her laugh broke into a sob. "I denied Emma her father and you your daughter." Wolf moved closer, taking her hand gently. "I was there that night, Sarah, at the hospital." Her eyes widened. "You were there?" "They thought I was on leave. I held her for 5 minutes." Wolf said softly. "Most beautiful thing I'd ever seen." Sarah's tears spilled. "The note, the blanket," he nodded. "And Ranger. He's been guarding you ever since." Before she could respond, raised voices echoed from the hallway. Thunder appeared at the door, his expression grim. "Smith's here," he said, "and he brought company. Police Chief Williams and Judge Carver." Sarah's heart monitor spiked. "Williams is part of it. He signs off on the missing kids' paperwork." "We move now," Thunder said, but before they could act, Smith strode into the room, flanked by the 2 men. "Well," Smith drawled, his false charm curling into a sneer. "Isn't this cozy?" Sarah's voice came out strong despite her weakness. "Get out. She's confused," Smith told the chief smoothly. "Classic signs of head trauma. She's not fit to make custody decisions." Judge Carver stepped forward, holding papers. "Emergency custody order. Emma Miller is to be transferred to Mr. Reynolds immediately." "On what grounds?" Thunder demanded. "Mother incapacitated." "No legal father listed," Carver replied coldly. Wolf's voice cut through the room. "There is a father. Me." Smith laughed. "Prove it." "We've already started DNA testing," Thunder said. "Results in 48 hours. Too late." Smith sneered. "Custody takes effect tomorrow." Then came a small but fierce voice from the doorway. "I have a reason," Emma said. She stood with Ranger at her side. "He pushed Mom, and he sells kids." Smith froze. "Sweetheart, you're confused." "She recorded you," Emma said. Smith lunged for Sarah's phone, but Wolf moved faster, blocking him. "Enough," Thunder growled. "We have footage. Witnesses." Judge blustered. "This is absurd. Smith Reynolds is a respected—" A new voice thundered from the hall. "Respected? You mean federally investigated?" A silver-haired man stepped into the room, followed by 2 stern-faced agents. "Senator William Miller." Sarah gasped. "Dad?" The senator's expression softened briefly. "Hello, Sarah. It's been a long time." He turned to the officers. "Agents, arrest them." Within minutes, Smith, the judge, and the chief were cuffed and read their rights. The senator faced Wolf and Thunder. "I owe you men my gratitude. You saved my daughter and my granddaughter." As the agents led Smith away, He hissed one last venomous promise at Wolf. This isn't over. Wolf met his glare with calm steel. Good, I'm not done either. The senator turned to Wolf. So, you're Emma's father? I am, Wolf said steadily. The older man studied him a long moment, then nodded. Then you and I have much to discuss. Outside, the storm raged once more, sealing them inside the hospital. Inside, Wolf watched over his family, the woman he'd lost, the daughter he'd found, and the truth that had finally burned its way into the light. Sometimes the fiercest battles aren't fought on open fields, but behind locked doors, where love, loyalty, and fear collide in the silence before chaos. Without needing to be told, Emma moved to help her mother sit up, her small hands steady and sure. The same quiet competence that had guided her through the storm to the Hell Angels bar just days earlier now shone in her calm determination. Ranger stood alert at her side, hackles raised, his amber eyes locked on the door. He could sense danger long before human ears could hear it. They're coming to take us away, Emma whispered. Not as a question, but a quiet statement of fact. Wolf knelt before her, lowering himself until his scarred face was level with hers. I promise to protect you always, he murmured, his voice low but steady. That hasn't changed. And it never will. A thunderous bang shook the door. Miller, hospital security, we need to perform a welfare check. No one answered. The room fell still except for the steady rhythm of Sarah's shallow breathing. The barricade, chairs, trays, and a wheeled cabinet would buy them only moments. I can create a diversion, Thunder offered, his hand already reaching for his jacket. Draw them off while you get Sarah and Emma to the service elevator. Wolf shook his head firmly. Too risky. We move together or not at all. The pounding grew louder. Ms. Miller, we have concerns about your daughter's welfare. Open the door immediately. Sarah, pale and trembling, turned to Wolf. Her eyes pleaded for an answer. What's the plan? Wolf's mind raced through tactical options. None were good. The blizzard outside made escape impossible, while the narrow hospital corridors offered little cover. For the first time in both his military and civilian life, he faced a threat his training couldn't neutralize. Then Martha's voice, sharp, commanding and echoing through the hall like a gunshot. What in God's name is going on here? The pounding stopped. Smith's smooth tone followed, oily and rehearsed. Mrs. Sullivan, this is an official medical matter. Please step aside. Official, my wrinkled behind, Martha shot back. I've brought Federal Marshal Davis with me. He has questions about your custody paperwork, Mr. Reynolds. Wolf and Thunder exchanged confused glances. There was no Federal Marshal Davis. Martha was bluffing. Smith's voice wavered. Marshal, I wasn't aware. Indeed, came a deep, unfamiliar voice, rich with authority. We have concerns about document authenticity. Step this way, please. Footsteps retreated down the hall. Silence fell once again, then came a gentle knock. It's just me, dears. Coast is clear for now. Thunder moved the barricade aside just enough to let her in. Martha slipped through, snow still clinging to her coat. Behind her stood a tall, distinguished black man in his 60s, his overcoat dusted white from the storm. Judge Franklin Davis, he introduced himself with calm composure. Former state Supreme Court Justice, currently heading the Ethics Committee investigating Judge Carver. Not a federal marshal, Martha admitted quickly, but close enough to scare them. Wolf stared in disbelief. How did you even get here in this storm? Four-wheel drive and stubbornness, Martha said with a dismissive wave, but they'll realize soon enough that my bluff was empty. Judge Davis surveyed the room like a battlefield strategist. Miss Miller needs medical evacuation, and the child requires protective custody. We have maybe 5 minutes before they check and find no federal team in the building. Wolf looked to Sarah. Her face had gone chalk white. The nurse stepped forward, shaking her head. She's not stable enough for transport. Moving her could cause internal bleeding. The truth hit them all like a punch. They couldn't leave, they couldn't fight, and they couldn't wait forever. There's another option, Judge Davis said quietly. I can issue an emergency injunction suspending Smith's custody order and grant temporary guardianship to Mr. Anderson, pending DNA confirmation. That helps legally, Thunder replied, but not physically. Smith's done pretending to follow the law. Martha's jaw tightened. Then we make this room defensible until help arrives. The storm will break by morning. Senator Miller's agents will get through. That's hours away, Wolf calculated grimly, and we're outnumbered. From down the corridor came the unmistakable sound of shouting. Smith discovering Martha's deception. Time was up. Emma's small voice broke through the tension. Ranger can help. Every eye turned toward the German shepherd sitting tall beside her. He's trained, right? Military trained. He knows what to do. Wolf met his daughter's gaze, really saw her for the first time as more than a frightened child. You're right, he said softly. He's not just a protector. He's a soldier. For the first time since entering the hospital, a ghost of a smile touched his scarred face. He knelt beside Ranger and whispered quick, coded commands. The dog's ears pricked forward. His intelligent eyes focused completely. What's the plan? Thunder asked. Divide and isolate, Wolf replied. Ranger will create distractions while we secure this floor. The nurse glanced nervously at her watch. Sarah needs her medication within the hour. If we lose access to the pharmacy, Judge Davis cut her off. Martha and I will go. We'll get the medication and contact help. Thunder, hold this room. Wolf, take Ranger and cover our retreat. Emma gripped her mother's hand. Fear trembled through her voice. Don't leave us. Sarah's eyes met Wolf's over her daughter's golden hair. Don't, she whispered, a single word carrying 9 years of regret and longing. Wolf's answer came instantly. Never again. Ranger moved to the door, muscles coiled. Ready. Outside, the blizzard howled like a living thing. Inside, a family. Fractured but fighting, prepared for their darkest hour. Hours later, dawn broke. State Police Captain Eleanor Reeves stepped through St. Mary's main entrance, brushing snow from her uniform. Behind her, troopers and FBI agents flooded the corridors. Secure the exits, she ordered. Room-by-room search. We have reports of hostages, armed suspects. But what they found wasn't chaos. It was order, strangely calm and resolute. In the East Wing, Smith Reynolds and 2 guards sat zip-tied to radiators, a German shepherd standing guard. In the pharmacy, Martha Sullivan calmly dispensed medication while Judge Davis recorded every pill. And in Sarah Miller's room, Wolf sat beside his daughter, reading softly from The Hobbit while Thunder watched the hallway. Captain Reeves paused in the doorway. Looks like you handled things. Wolf looked up, weary but calm. Had some help. Ranger padded over, tail swaying once before he sat at attention. Within hours, Senator Miller arrived with federal reinforcements. Smith, the guards, and Dr. Lawrence were taken into custody. Sarah, stabilized thanks to Martha's daring run, gave her statement from the hospital bed. The network runs deep, the senator explained grimly. Reynolds was only mid-level. We've traced over 30 missing children connected to his cases. Emma's voice cut through the room. Will you find them? The senator hesitated, powerless for once. Some of them, yes. Others, he couldn't finish. Then Judge Davis looked up from his tablet. DNA results are in. 99.97% probability. He smiled. Congratulations, Mr. Anderson. You are officially Emma's father. Wolf nodded slowly, the weight of truth settling into his chest, not as surprise, but as confirmation of what his heart had always known. Sometimes, the calm after a storm doesn't mean peace. It means the start of rebuilding what the storm tried to destroy. Is there room in that purpose for us? Sarah's voice trembled, carrying 9 years of regret, hope, and something deeper, possibility. The question seemed to echo through the quiet hospital room, wrapping around Wolf like a plea he'd waited a lifetime to hear. Before he could answer, chaos erupted outside. Shouts, footsteps, the metallic click of handcuffs. Everyone turned as 2 FBI agents appeared in the hallway, escorting Smith past the glass doors. He caught sight of Wolf and smirked, his once handsome face now twisted with venom. This goes higher than you can imagine, he barked. Senators, governors, you think you've won? They'll find you. They'll find all of you. The agents shoved him toward the elevator. But his threat hung in the air like smoke, thick, poisonous, and far from gone. Senator Miller exhaled, his expression grim. He's not wrong, he admitted quietly. My colleagues are already being pressured to tread carefully with this investigation. The roots of this go deep, deeper than I realized. Thunder stepped forward, his presence commanding even in silence. Then we protect our own, the Hell Angels way. The senator eyed him skeptically. And what way is that exactly? Thunder met his gaze without flinching. Together, he said simply. Family isn't who shares your blood. It's who would spill theirs for you. FBI agent Rodriguez, a veteran with lines of fatigue etched into his face, nodded thoughtfully. Senator, I've worked trafficking cases for 15 years. Standard witness protection leaks like a sieve. Too many people have access to the system, if you ask me. He glanced at Thunder. Unorthodox protection might be exactly what you need, Senator Miller hesitated. Political instinct warring with something far more human, the need to protect his daughter and granddaughter. Finally, he nodded. We'll coordinate with your club, Mr. Hayes. Federal resources are yours, but operational control stays with you. Thunder extended a calloused hand. We protect our own, sir. Always have. As plans and strategies began forming around them, Wolf and Sarah stood slightly apart, two soldiers in the quiet aftermath of their own private war. I never stopped loving you, Sarah whispered. I just didn't know how to help you heal. Wolf's throat tightened. And I never stopped watching over you, even when I thought I didn't deserve to. Emma, her small hand trembling, reached out and took theirs, bridging the distance that had separated them for nearly a decade. Can we be a real family now? She asked softly. Wolf's eyes flickered to Sarah, hesitant, almost afraid to hope. Yes, Sarah said, squeezing both their hands. We can try. From her chair, Martha smiled through tears. Sometimes the most broken roads lead to the most beautiful destinations, she murmured. My Henry used to say that. As dawn broke over Oak Ridge, light spilled across the hospital floor, bathing them all in soft gold. Outside, the storm had passed, leaving behind a world washed clean, raw, and full of new beginnings. Inside, plans continued. Protection details, safe houses, legal strategies. But beneath the logistics was something simpler. A family once shattered, learning how to rebuild, not perfectly, but together. 6 months later, Stone Ridge Bar pulsed with life. Spring had melted away winter's scars, replacing them with color and promise. Martha, ever the commander, stood at the center, giving orders with her cane like a general's baton. Higher on the left, thunder. Do you need glasses or just common sense? She scolded, her sharp tongue softened by affection. Laughter echoed off the wooden beams as the Hell Angels decorated the space with ribbons and wildflowers. Smith's arrest had shaken the nation, leading to a massive investigation that reached into governor's offices and beyond. 23 children had already been rescued, and through it all, Senator Miller had weathered political firestorms to keep the case alive. For Sarah, healing came slowly but steadily. The limp in her step was permanent, but so was her resolve. Wolf now lived in a cabin near town, close enough to help raise Emma, giving Sarah the independence she'd fought hard to reclaim. Emma flourished under their shared care. Her schoolwork improved. Her laughter returned. The Hell Angels became her uncles, loud, loyal, and proud. They attended her science fair in full leather, cheering as she presented her project on canine intelligence with Ranger sitting proudly beside her. Now, as the sun filtered through the bar's windows, Sarah stood before a mirror upstairs. Her ivory dress shimmered softly in the light. Her mother, eyes glistening, adjusted a crown of wildflowers in her hair. You look beautiful, Mrs. Miller whispered. I'm sorry we missed so much. Sarah smiled gently. We're here now. That's what matters. A small knock interrupted them. Emma entered in a blue dress, blonde hair braided with flowers. Mom, you look like a princess. So do you, sweetheart, Sarah said, kneeling to hug her. Ready for your big role? Emma grinned. Ranger and I have been practicing. The German Shepherd waited patiently in the hall, wearing a tiny pouch that held the rings. Downstairs, Wolf paced, looking almost nervous, a rare sight. Thunder chuckled. You faced insurgents with more calm than this, brother. Wolf smirked. Yeah, but insurgents don't usually wear ivory dresses. When the ceremony began, the bar glowed under twinkling lights. Emma led the way, Ranger by her side. Then Sarah appeared, radiant, walking down the aisle on her father's arm. Wolf's composure shattered. Emotion flooded his scarred face when they finally stood hand in hand. Judge Davis spoke of second chances, of love forged in fire. Wolf's voice broke as he placed the ring on Sarah's finger. I promise to protect you and Emma, not from afar, but beside you. Sarah's eyes filled. And I promise we face everything together. No more running, no more fear. By the power vested in me, Judge Davis said warmly, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Cheers erupted. Engines roared outside in salute. Martha wept, and under the glow of spring light, the family once shattered by darkness found its way back to love.